Hi guys, Norm Norlander here. I'd like to demonstrate some techniques used to tie a weighted tube fly. This is a little bit unusual. Normally tube flies are not weighted, but here's a neat way to do it. First thing we're going to do here is select the tube material. I'm going to use a small diameter plastic. This is nylon tubing. You got this in bulk form. A really neat source, if you're lucky, is an upholstery shop. They use this for piping material for cushions. Okay, and the first thing we want to do is, of course, is select the largest mandrel we can use. Here's the set of 3 mandrels that come with your Norvise system, and it happens that the smallest one right here is going to fit this 16th inch diameter tube. So we'll start out by putting our collet on, and then we stick our mandrel in here. I'm going to project that out about yay far. That's going to be about the length of the body. We lock it in place with these set screws. We have one on either side, and now it will not slip. Makes a really solid connection. And of course you can see it's perfectly centered. Just great. Okay. Now, what I like to do is I like to put my junction tube on. The junction tube is this soft Tygon tubing, and I like to put it onto the main tube first. And we just push this on like so. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge here sometimes. There we go. So you stick that in like so, and we'll leave about a 1/4 of an inch or so. That's going to encapsulate the eye of the hook. So you just clip off our junction tube. Now we can figure out how long this body is going to be. Well, we sort of knew ahead of time. It's going to be right about there. And so we cut off that part. Okay. Now, slide this thing on here, but you notice it's loose. It's not going to connect very well. So what we need to do is build up the diameter of our mandrel here. I'm going to use some tying thread. I use this bright red stuff. It's just a lot easier to see what's happening. And we'll start out here. I'm going to put a layer of thread down, pretty much edge to edge, and that'll get us close to the inside diameter of our tube. So anyhow, you just give your vise a spin like that. You see how easy that is to track down there? It just beats the heck out of going hand over hand. Now we get down here, we're going to check it. So I take my tube and I slide it on here. Yeah, it's still pretty loose. So what I want to do is build up the back end of it right here. I'm going to increase the diameter. Go back and forth here a couple times, like I've just done there. Now we'll check it again. You slide your tube on, and getting pretty close. Just a little bit more. That's going to do it, I'll bet, just perfect. See how you can gradually build up that diameter? You're basically making a tapered needle, so it'll wedge on there. That's just right, okay? So at this point, I'll throw in a 1/2 hitch, maybe a couple of them. Now very often we're going to tie a bunch of these flies. I say a bunch, anywhere from a 1/2 dozen to whatever you think you're going to need. And you want this to be a little more durable. A neat way to do it is to coat this with super glue, okay, like I'm doing right here. And normally you'd have a tissue and you'd want to wipe that clean. I'm going to just use a piece of paper here since I don't have a tissue right handy. Don't use your fingers. That's really kind of messy. But anyhow, that'll get rid of all the excess glue. So now you can touch it, and yet it's glued on there pretty tight. Okay. Next step, push on our tube, and it's got the little junction tube attached to it. It's wedged on nice. Okay. You see that? It's going to work just pretty good. Now this is still pretty slippery. This nylon, or most of the plastics, are slippery, and your fly can actually twist or spin on the tube. Trick of the day, guys. Take some sandpaper like this, and just hold it up here. And what that'll do, that'll roughen that thing up. Okay. Now we can lay down our base coat of thread. We'll start up here at the front end, like so. Okay. And then you run your thread all the way down like this. Okay. And maybe all the way back again. You leave it kind of open, crisscross it like so. And what I'm going to do is put some lead on there. This is just soft lead. And let's just take and break off a piece here. Okay. Now again, to keep this from slipping, get our super glue out here. And this thing is going to be rock solid when we get through. So you put a coat of glue on there. Yeah, better get our bobbin out of the way. Let's just half etch that in there so it doesn't go anywheres. And take your lead wire, okay, and we're going to put this right over that wet glue, like so. Now use the vise. See how you can run that on there, edge to edge? That's slick. That just beats the heck out of going hand over hand, guys. Okay, perfect job. Now you get up this end here, we lock the vise. Oops. Kind of unwound that one just a little bit. There, we got it. Yeah. A little careless on my part, guys. And then pop off the other end. There you go. Nice, firm, tight wrap on that thing. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay. I'm going to come up here, and I like to put some body material on. I'm really pretty big on these, they call them braids. You can get this down at the artsy craft store. They come in all sorts of different colors. This is a metallic silver. And we'll start up here at the front end. Just tie this little beauty in like so. Okay. Yeah, it's going to stay there pretty good. Now again, using the vise, we're going to hold this and just spiral down all the way down to our junction tube, turn, come all the way back again. Up the front end here, you build up that little hump. Now, there's a reason for that. That's so that it'll take and splay out our wing material. And it'll give the fly a whole lot better profile. Yeah, there we go. Get that tied off pretty good. You can reach in here, clip out our braid material. Not too bad. Now, I'm pretty big on using these synthetic fibers in lieu of traditional bucktail or polar bear like we've used in the past. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little this material. There we go. Try to hold it up here so you can see what's happening. Cut this off. Now, I need really about 3 times that amount. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to double this over a couple times. Like, here's 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that's a pretty good clump there for a wing material. Now I'd like to have those wings tapered. I don't like them square like a paintbrush. So reach in here and you pull out a few fibers. And the neat part about doing it like this is that you pull them out here. Well, the same thing happens at the other end. So you just make the taper on one end at the same time you've done it for the other end. Slick. Okay, we'll tie this on here. This is actually going to end up being the bottom. So we'll come around here, a couple nice turns like so. Turn the vise over. Bring it up on top. A couple nice turns like so. Yeah, that's going to look pretty good. See how you get that nice profile there? Okay, now this is going to be a sparkly little rascal. So we're going to add some silver wing material. These are shredded mylar, I think is technically what it is. And this particular one is called Ice Wing. So we're going to take and throw in a few fibers up on top like that. And then of course we pull the other end around and that doubles what we just put up there. Now again, when you cut it, don't cut it square, guys. Lay your scissors down so you get that nice tapered effect. Okay? Now to give it a bit of contrast or color or whatever you want to call it, this would be like the top of this little bait fish. And this is a kind of a peacock colored material. This particular one, by the way, is actually called angel hair. You can mix and match these synthetic fibers. Nothing wrong with doing that. Okay, and again, we'll taper this out so we get about the right length on it. That's not too bad. Now, like I say, this fly is intended to be fished rather deep. So we're going to put a little bit more weight on it in the form of a head. One of the beauties of a tube fly is that we can add these cone heads to them. Here's a couple cone heads. You see these little beauties? They're manufactured, come in different sizes, different materials. So we'll take a trial fit here first. Oh, slide that little thing on there. Oops, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Not the handiest things to hold on to sometimes. There we go. Yeah, that looks pretty good, okay? So, we've got the right size cone head. We've got our head built up pretty good. We'll just take and put a bit of a whip finish on our thread there. Cut it off. Now really, pretty good idea is to use your super glue like this, and we're going to glue that cone head on there. We use a pretty good dab of glue here. About like so. Okay. And then we'll take our cone head. There we go. Push that on nice and tight. Ah, perfect. See how that profile matches up there? Looks pretty neat. Okay. I'm going to cut off some of the excess plastic tube here. Leave about a 1/16 of an inch or so sticking out. And then to make sure that this cone head never does fall off, use a little butane lighter here, and we're going to bugle over or mushroom over the front of that tube. Don't put the torch under it, guys. You're going to set the thing on fire, and that's not so good. Okay. Run my dubbing needle through there, make sure everything's good. And I'd like to show you how I rig these things up. We can pull this off the mandrel. And what I've got here is a small straight-eyed hook made for tube flies, and it's tied on a piece of leader material. We're going to run this leader material up through the back end of the tube, like so. And it'll come out the front. It says here. There we go. Now, the eye of the hook, we press into this junction tube back here. And what that does, one is it keeps it from fouling when you're casting, but the other is the hook will now act as a keel to keep the fly upright. There you go. And these little short shanked hooks, they really hang on to the fish well. But you can see how it makes a nice, compact, great silhouette, lots of flash. These things really work, guys, and you want to try them.